The easiest way for swimmers to go fast is to improve their turns. One of the most difficult things to get swimmers to work on and improve is their turns. Let's fix that. Hi everyone, Andrew here, helping you help your swimmers get faster. Other than the start, the fastest point that swimmers are traveling through the water is when they're coming off the wall on a turn. What with poor skills, that speed advantage can disappear almost instantly. It's a huge opportunity for swimmers to get free speed that doesn't cost them much from a physiological standpoint, and really, it's not even that difficult a skill to perform. The challenge is getting swimmers to do it consistently. And as I'm sure you've experienced, simple reminders, simple suggestions tends not to be particularly effective. But if we can use a strategy that gives them constant feedback and constant reminders, we're going to be able to help swimmers improve how they come off the wall, which is ultimately going to dramatically improve their ability to create speed on the turns. Turns are a huge opportunity. They matter a lot in races, and that's true from both a research perspective as well as an experiential perspective. Research has consistently shown that turns are a huge determinant of competition outcomes. And of course, you've watched it at every meet. Swimmers win races because of their turns, swimmers lose races because of their turns. The best part is that it's free speed. It doesn't require much effort from a physiological perspective in order to maximize performance on the turns. It's not talent driven, it's more about focus and execution, and there are tons of opportunities each race. Every wall, there's a turn, and every turn, there's an opportunity. And most swimmers understand more or less what they have to do. The application is the issue, not necessarily a knowledge of what's important and how to make it happen. Just because it's a huge opportunity doesn't mean swimmers are taking advantage of that opportunity. As a coach, you probably see 200 terrible turns per day per swimmer, because most swimmers are really bad at their turns in practice, whether that's going into the wall, coming out of the wall, everything in between. And as I've already mentioned, reminding them tends not to do very much. They may remember for a couple laps, but then they're back to doing whatever they were doing. However, it's not necessarily because they're lazy or because they're not listening. When you're in situations where there aren't necessarily clear goals, which is the case with a turn, there's not a clear goal as to what they're trying to accomplish other than swim a better turn, and there's no clear consequences, they don't necessarily know if they were effective or not with their turns, we have a problem. That means there's zero feedback. If there's zero feedback, there's no engagement. And if there's zero engagement, there's no learning. So more than anything, it's a design issue. We need to build more feedback into their practice sessions, into their training, so that they can learn more. The real question is, how do we get engagement? And regardless of the specific strategy we choose, we have to use something that makes it easy for them to engage, because otherwise they're going to get distracted and they're not going to be able to execute on what they need to do. Here's my favorite strategy to solve that problem. Super simple. Throw a cone on the bottom of the pool or whatever other type of object that's easily seen and doesn't move around and stays at the bottom of the pool. And then tell them they can't kick until they pass it. So maybe you throw it at 3 meters, maybe you throw it at the flags, whatever makes sense to you. But the rule is they push off the wall, they can't do anything until their head crosses that cone. Now what happens? You're going to see better streamlines every single time, because if they don't, they're not going to reach the cone. You're going to get a better push off the wall, because if they don't push hard, they're not going to get to the cone. You're also going to get a better approach to the wall, because if they don't approach the wall effectively, they can't push off the wall particularly well, they're not going to get to the cone. And now we're instantly going to get more effective turns simply by putting the cone on the bottom of the pool. That creates concrete goals. They get instant feedback. They either did it or they didn't, and that's going to create change. So rather than just expecting swimmers to think about it, we can give them a concrete task that allows them to know whether they're being successful or not. That's going to get engagement. That's going to get learning. That's going to get change. Now, how do you make it work? Well, if it's just a gimmick that you use every once in a while, it's not going to do much of everything. You want to try to use it as often as possible in every type of training context. Speed work, race work, endurance work, use it for all three. And of course, you can set appropriate targets for the work performed. If it's a shorter speed set where they're getting lots of rest, they're going to be able to execute better turns probably. You can put that marker a little bit further out. If it's a longer endurance set, might be a little bit harder for them to do that. Maybe the cone's a little bit closer. The other key aspect is continue to set performance goals, because not only do we want them to get to the cone, we want them to get to the cone fast. So if they still have to hit certain speed goals throughout the set, not only are they focusing on getting to the cone, they know if they're super slow with it, they're not going to be able to hit the times that they're expected to hit. And you can also incorporate kick counts and stroke counts to ensure that there's efficiency coming out of that turn rather than just gliding and then going back to whatever they were doing. So you can continue to reinforce effective skills by adding on these performance goals. And of course, the more you do it, the more effective it's going to be. It's going to take them time to figure it out. It's going to take them time to develop the habit. And ultimately what we want is for this to show up in races. So they have to learn to do it really well, and they have to learn how to do it really consistently. And that's only going to happen if they're doing it a lot. Here are 2 simple sets using this strategy. The first one's more of an aerobic freestyle set. They're going to go 2 rounds through. They're going to go 3 100s freestyle, slight descend 1 to 3. There's a cone on the bottom. Then they're going to go 4 75s. Bigger descend 1 to 4. There's a cone on the bottom. And then 650s, biggest descend 1 to 3, 4 to 6. Cone on the bottom. And then on round 2, you can move the cone out slightly farther, and their goal is to hold the speed, whatever times they got down to on the first round, they're going to try to hold that the second round. So they've got to be consistent with their walls, and on the second round, they got to be even better with their walls, and they got to find a way to do that without sacrificing speed. So really reinforcing effective turns and consistently executed effective turns. So really emphasizing effective turns and really emphasizing consistently effective turns. Next set, they're going to go 2 rounds through, a little bit more of a speed set. Here, we're working on IM transitions, and of course, the walls are super important in IMs, and so we're giving swimmers lots of practice on how to execute those walls and do so while being really effective coming off the wall. 250s fly back, number 1 solid, number 2 is strong. 250s back breast, number 1 is solid, number 2 is strong. 250s breast free, number 1 is solid, number 2 is strong. And then by round, they're going to get an extra 20, 40, 60 seconds. They're going to go 100 IM, they're going to descend 1 to 3 to fast. And for the second 50, they're going to descend from strong to fast by round. And throughout that entire set, there's going to be a cone in the bottom, and they're going to go a pre-chosen kick count. The swimmers can pick it, so they've got to be good off the walls, and then they've got to be good with their dolphin kicks. And so we're really emphasizing that transition, that speed off the wall into their swimming, and especially in IMs, the walls can be absolutely critical. So the more that swimmers can learn to execute these skills and be consistent with these skills, and by using the cone on the bottom, by giving them kick counts, they're going to have to engage with those skills. And then ultimately, that's going to help them improve them. If you want a simple strategy to help swimmers improve their underwater kicking, which is the key skill that happens after the turn, check out the video below.